Hi to everyone. My name is D. Sandeep. I am working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Information Technology of MLR Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. In last video, we discussed about that sequences of types in Python. That is sequence data types in Python. That is string data type, and also we discussed that type conversions. That is typecasting. So we can convert from one data type to another data type. So for that purpose, we have that inbuilt functions, int function, float function, and then str function, complex function, bool function. So these are the things we discussed in last video. So today we are going to discuss about this sequence type, that is list and tuple. Okay, so this is the today content, list and tuple data types. So first we will discuss about the list data type. Lists are just like an arrays. So arrays is what? Arrays is used to store a group of elements. Array is used to store a group of elements. That is, array is used to store what? A group of elements as a single entity. Array is used to store a group of elements as a single entity. So similar to that, that means just like an array, lists are also used to store a group of elements as a single entity. So that's why here what we given the definition, lists are just like an arrays which is declared in other languages like C or Java. Okay, so if you take Java programming language, in Java we are using array variable which is used to store multiple values. So same thing here, list also is used to store multiple objects which is in ordered collection of data. It is very flexible as the items in a list do not need to be of the same type. So that means when we are going to use this list data type, or when we have to use this list, means if you want to store a group of elements as a single entity where insertion order is preserved, insertion order is preserved means in which way the elements is insert into the list object, the same way the elements will be displayed to the user. For example, there is one list. Actually, first we will complete the definition, then we will discuss one by one. Where the insertion order is preserved and heterogeneous objects are allowed, duplication elements are allowed, and size is not fixed. So if you want these type of requirements, then you can use what? List data type. Then these list values should be enclosed within the square brackets, that is closed and open, or open and closed square brackets. Okay, now the first thing here is insertion order is preserved. That means in which way the elements is insert, the same way the elements are displayed to the user. For example, you consider one example, that is 10, 20, 30. So this is the list, and in this list how many elements are stored? 3 elements, of course same data type. See, in which element we insert? 10. Next which element we insert? 20. And next which element we insert? 30. So in which way the elements are inserted, the same way the elements will be displayed to the user. The same way the elements will be displayed. That means the order of the elements are not be changed whenever the elements are displaying. Whenever the elements are displaying, the orders are not changed. So first the value is 10. So the displaying value, the first displaying value is also 10, and second value is 20. Here the second value is also 20. So like that one, insertion order is preserved. Okay. Next, heterogeneous objects. For example, A equals to, so this is int data type and this is string data type, and what? For example, float 10.3. So like this one, different type of objects are allowed to the list. Okay, so this is int object and this is string object and this is float object. Even you can also insert the complex object. Next, that list can allow that duplicate values. For example, a equals to 10, 20, 30, comma 10. See what happened here. I will write here a equals to, just a minute, a equals to 10, 20, 30, 10. See here, the 10 is again repeated here. That means the duplicate values are allowed in the list object. Next, size not be fixed. Actually, array size is fixed in other programming languages, but here maybe the list will be same to the array, but there is one thing, that size is not fixed in the list of Python. If you want to insert one more value, then you can insert. There is no problem. Okay, so let me see one example through the program. For example, a equals to 10, 20, 30. Now print type of a. First we are going to check what? The data type of the object, that is a. Which data type? Next, print id of a, that is id function. Type function is used to check which type of the object. Next, id function is used to access the memory address of the object. Next, print. Okay, so I am going to print the values of the list. Now let me run this program, but before that, where we save this? In E drive. So now we have to redirect to E drive in the command prompt. Now we have to redirect to Python folder. In this Python folder, we have to what? Before that one, we have to save this one, right? So we save this program. Now open this command prompt, Python test.py. See what is the type? List type and memory address and the values, that is 10, 20. See in which order we display, in which order we insert that values. First 10, second is 20 and third is 30. The same is here 10, 20, 30. Okay. Next, here next is what? Insertion order is preserved. Next, another example, a equals to, so 10. Next, I am going to store, that is string type. Next, I am going to insert 10.3, that is float. So what happened here? Different type of objects will be stored or not. So now and then print a. Okay, print a. What happened? So the list, but here what? Different type of objects are stored. Okay, that is heterogeneous objects are allowed. Next, repeated values. For example, here 10. Again, which value it is repeating? 10. Again, which value it is repeated here? 10. So now I will run this program whether the duplicate values are allowed or not. Let me check. Yes. See 10 Python 10.3 and again 10 here is displayed. So like this one, different types of objects are allowed. Next, duplicate values are allowed. And next one is here is what? Insertion order is preserved. So these three things are there. Now next we have to discuss what? Growable in nature. Okay, so growable in nature based on these statement. Which statement? Growable in nature. Based on this statement, lists are mutable or immutable. Of course, lists are mutable. Okay, anyway, we'll discuss through this one. But before going to discuss that one, we have some functions of list data type which are inbuilt functions. So one is append function. What is the purpose of this append function? This function is used to add the object at the end of the list. Okay, at the end of the list. That means append function is used to add at the end of the list. For example, a equals to 10 comma 20 comma and then string value it is stored and then one more value 10.3 3 and next enough. Now print A. I save this program. Actually, how many values here there? How many objects we that list is contained now? 4 values. One is 10, 20, Python and 10.3. Total 4 values. Now first I will run this program. See 10, 20, Python and 10.3. Now if I want to add some element, so which function we had? Append function. So append, okay na? Append function. So for example, I need to insert some 50. This is inbuilt function of Python only, right? So now print A. So where that value will be added? In the middle of the list or at the beginning of the list or at the end of the list? Let me run this program. Append function. But this append function we have to call by using list object. Okay, na? We have to call this append function by using which object? List object. Now I save this program. Okay. Once and I will run this one. Right. Now see what happened. That 50 value is added or not. So 10, 20, Python and 10.3 and then 50. So what? So like this one, we can insert the values into the list or we can add the values into the list. But by using this append function, we can add the values at the end of the list. At the end of the list, where the 50 element is added at the end of the list only, right? So that is the thing. Next, another function we had, that is insert function. What is this insert function? So insert function is also used to add the values to the list. But what is the difference between the append function and insert function is that append function is used to add the values at the end of the list. But this insert function is used to add the values at the specific index. For example, if you want to add the values at first, that is 0th index. Okay, so then you can add that value into by using this insert function. So let me see an example. For example, I want to add that insert where at 0th index. So 0, 50. 0, 50. Now I save this program. Once I run this one. What happened? So where the 50 value is stored or where the 50 value is inserted? At 0th index, that is the first value. So like this one, you can use the insert function, and by using these insert function, what we can do, at where you want that value has to be inserted into the list, then you have to specify the index. So with the specification of that index, the value will be inserted. For example, here that index is specified as 0. So that's why that 50 value is inserted at beginning of the list. For example, here I will change. I want to insert that 50 element as second. So what is the second index number? First. So I save this program. Now see. So 10, 50, 20, Python 10.3. Okay. So like this one, by using insert function, wherever you want, you can insert the values, but you have to specify what? That index number. That index number. Next, there is one function, that is extend function. So what is this extend function? Extend function is used to append the elements of one list to another list. That means we can combine two lists. So let me see an example, right? So for example, first I will create two lists. So 10, 20, 30. Next, b equals to, so here I will take a string value and I will take 10.3. 10.3. Now, see, here two lists are there. Now, I need to merge that list B into list A. So for that purpose, you have to call that extend function by using which object? Object A. So A dot and then extend function. what? Extend function. So which list you have to insert, which list you are merging or which list you are combining, that is list B. So now see, print A. Okay, so once again one more statement will write, before merging that A and B, I will print what? Two list values separately. Okay, now see, right? What happened? See, 10, 20, two different list of values are there, two different list objects are there, it contains values. Now the two list objects we combine as a single list by using which function? Extend function. These two list objects are combined as a single list object by using which function? Extend function. So append function is used to add the elements at the end of the list, and insert function is used to insert the elements at the specified index. That means if you want to insert the values at first, then you have to specify that 0th index with the, if you want to insert at the beginning. Next, extend function. By using this extend function, what we can do? We can combine the two lists as a single list, like this one. Okay, right? So in this way we can insert the elements or combine the elements by using these three functions. Of course, these three functions are inbuilt functions. Next we have remove function. By using these function, we can remove the object from the list. That means we can remove the elements from the list. So let me see an example, right? So A equals to 10, 20, 30, 40. Just I am taking same data type here, just for example. Now I need to remove that element 20, but before that I will print that elements, I will access that elements. Now we have to use the remove function, and in this remove function you have to pass which element you are going to delete. Which element you are going to delete, that element you have to be passed into this remove function. For example, I want to remove that element 30. So that's why I pass that element 30 into the remove function, and you have to call that remove function by using this list object. So I save this program, and once again I will run this. What happened? Right? See, yes, here we have to print once again after removing the element. What happened? So before removing that element, what? 10, 20, 30, 40, and after removing we had that 10, 20, 40. So like this one, you can remove that elements from the list by using which function? Remove function. Next, there is one function, that is pop function. So this, by using this pop function, we can remove the element. We can remove the element by using the index. By using the index. For example, let me see, right? A dot pop function. So here that pop function here. For example, I want to remove that element 20. So what is the element 20 index number? 1, because of the index number always starts from 0. And now, right, I am going to print that. After removing that element 20, once again I am printing the list. Now see what happened. See, first that elements are contained what? 10, 20, 30, 40 into that list. Next, what are the objects contained? We remove that object 20 from the list. Now what are the elements are there? 10, 30, 40. Okay, simple, right? So first we had that elements 10, 20, 30, 40. By using pop function, and in that pop function we are specifying that index number of the removing element, okay, of deleting that element. For example, here I want to delete that element 20. What is the 20th index number? 1. So that's why I pass that index number into this pop function, and then I print that elements of the list. So it contains only now 10, 30, 40. Okay, so this is the pop function. For example, here I did not pass any index number into the pop function. Then what is the result? If you are not going to pass any value to the pop function, then what is the result? So let's see what will be happen. What happen? It removes what? Which element? Last element of the list. It removes the last element of the list. That means if you are going to pass some value into the pop function, that is index number, then that particular index number value or index number object will be removed from the list. If you are not going to pass any index number to the pop function, then it remove the last object of the list. It remove the last object of the list. Okay, so in this way, we can use this pop function. We have that another function, that is clear function. So by using this clear function, what we can do? So the clear function is used to clear that elements from the what? List. See, let me write. So a dot clear function. So now I save this program and run this one, right? One minute, I will save. I save this program, right? Now see what happened. See, first before going to clear that values, or before going to call that clear function, that values will be there in the list, and after using this clear function, what? That elements are completely clear from the list. So that is the purpose of the clear function. Okay, so next here, next the data type is tuple data type. So but before going to discuss about the tuple data type, I need to discuss one more program about the list. For example, that accessing that elements. For example, a equals to 10, 20, 30, 40. Now by using index number, we can access the elements. For example, I want to access 20 value. So that index number is 1. Now I save this program. Okay, now I am going to access these elements, that see, that is 20 here. For example, if I want to access that 40 element, so we have that negative index number. By using this negative index number also, we can access the elements of the list. So it means if we want to access from the reverse of the list, then so by using negative index number, you can access the elements in and reverse. For example, so minus 1, okay, minus 1. Now see, I'll run this program. See, 20, 40. So by using index numbers, we can access the values from the list. Another data type, that is tuple data type. So tuple is also similar to what? List data type only. But what is the difference between here list and tuple is, in list we can change the values of that object. That means once the list object is created, we can change the values of the object. But in tuple, we cannot change the values of the object. But in tuple, we cannot change the values of the object. So that is the difference between the list and tuple. And one more difference is, we have to specify the values in list by using these square brackets. But in tuple, we have to specify the parentheses. Okay, na? In tuple, the values has to be specified with the parentheses. So it means there is no append function, there is no remove function. Even though if you are going to use this append function and remove function, we will get what? An error. Okay, na? So see, for example, if I want to change the values, this is the list. If I want to change the values of the list, so a of 0 equals to 50. That means I am going to replace the 10 with the 50. Now print a. So let me see whether it will be changed or not. See, 50, 20, 30, 40. It is changed. So that is mutable. The same thing if you take that tuple. So first we have to specify the tuple in which that parenthesis. So 10, 20, 30. Of course, the tuple data type is also what? Different type of objects will be stored. Now, first we will check whether this tuple or not by using which function? Type function. Okay, na? Type function. Now, print id of A and print A. Okay, na? Now see what happens. See, tuple data type and values are printed. Now we'll see whether these values will be changed or not. For example, A of 0 equals to 50. Okay, na? That means that 10 value is replacing with which value? 50. So now print A. Print A. Now see what happened. What? Tuple object does not support item assignment. That means we cannot change the values of the tuple objects. Once the tuple object is created, then we cannot change the values of the object. Okay. So that is the differences between the tuple and list. For example, if you want to add the elements, for example, append function. Okay. Now I am going to add the value. Now see, print A. Okay, na? Print it. Now we'll get what? An error. See, append function is not, append function is, there is no attribute. Append function is an attribute. That type of attribute is not consist in the tuple object. So we'll get error. So that means once the tuple object is created, then we cannot change the values of the object. So tuple is what? Mutable or immutable? Immutable. So list is mutable and tuple is immutable. Okay. So this is about what? List and tuple. So even in tuple we can access the values by using index number. That means if you want to access that what? Values of the tuple object, then you can use what? Index. If you want to access all values at a time, then use for loop. Okay. Next. So anyway, so today's summary is a list may contain duplicate values with their what? Positions, that is with their index numbers, and duplicate values is also what? Contained in for the list. Next, in order to access the list of items, refer to the index number. Of course, as we discussed before, how can we access the list items? By using index number. So that index operator will be like this one, that is square brackets. And next in Python we have the negative sequence indexes to represent what? The positions from the end of the list or from the end of the array. Next in Python, tuples are created what? By placing a sequence of values separated by comma. Yes, this is very important. See, for example, I will give an explanation for this statement through an example. A equals to 10. Parenthesis, right? A equals to, very important example. Now print A. Okay, na? Print A. Now I save this program. Actually this is what? Tuple, right? Because of we specified that value, but how many values we inserted? Only one value. Now see, we will get an what? Some value 10. But here you have to check what? Type of A. Type of A. Okay, na? Now see what will get? Int will get. It is not a type. It is not tuple type. Even though you are specifying the parenthesis, that value, even though you are specifying that value within the parenthesis, it shows what? Actually it is what? Tuple. But here what? It will shows int type. Then what is this statement here? Says to us, if you want to represent only one value with the tuple object, then you have to represent a comma after the value within the parenthesis. You have to represent what? A comma after the value within the parenthesis. Now see what is the type of the object here is tuple. That is the differences. If you are not going to represent this comma, then that object is what? Int object, as we seen in the output. But here after 10 what we represented a comma. So that is, now it is considered what? Tuple. So that is the important information about the tuple. Okay, right? But so that's why we have to careful whenever you are representing only one value with the tuple object. Next, tuple can contain any number of elements and any data type, right? Of course, the list. So, but the difference between the tuple and list is what? Mutable, and tuple is immutable, which we cannot change the values of the object. So, of course, there are a lot of functions are there in list and what? Tuples. So, we can see that functions in list, that is in data structures concept, that is list data structure and tuple data structures. Right. In next video, we will discuss about that range data type, and next set data type, foreign set data type, and dictionary data type, which we can say mapping. Right. So,